Welcome back to Leeds Lately. This is another episode of Dream Teams. Before we get into it, make sure you hit that big red button down below. We're trying to get to 10K by the end of the season. I know it's a big ask, but we're going to catch this man one day. How are you, Ollie?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, I've not had you on the channel before. It's the first time I've had everyone on the channel because I've never had anyone on the channel before this point. So, yes.
Well, I'm very proud to be here.
Yeah, you have the honor of coming on the channel. Yeah, so before we get into it, just a little bit of a reminder. People are starting to get the idea of this now, but there was a point where people weren't getting that. It's favourite players, not best players. So I do like to do that disclaimer at the start. Somebody like Ollie and myself grew up in the 2000s where we weren't very good at football as a club. So they're going to have different favourite players, different memories attached to it. So it's not the best, it's just the favourite. Also, shout out to James Lawrence Alcott, who I got the inspiration from this series from. His link is in the description. He's done some fantastic ones with some excellent ex-pros like Emmanuel Petit, for example. So check that out as well. And of course, subscribe to Ollie's channel while you're there. So, with all that aside, let's get into it. What formation would you like to go for, first of all?
Okay.
The few people have struggled with this because they'd want a formation that gets all of their favourite players in, rather than an overall system that they like.
See, I've done it the other way around. I got myself a formation and then fitted my favourite players into that formation.
Right,
so
okay, yeah.
I've gone for a Marcelo Bielsa masterclass and I've done a 4-1-4-1.
First one to go for that, actually.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of 4-2-3 ones, a 4-4-2. First one to go for the 4-1-4-1, which just surprised me a little bit because obviously how popular Bielsa was and that was his go-to system. But yeah, obviously worked fantastically well for a number of years for him.
Exactly. So he shows I'm actually a true fan, I think, unlike the rest of these YouTubers. But am I starting with the keeper?
Yes. Who do you want to go for in goal?
See, I was having a look over the last because realistically, if you guys don't know that I started supporting Leeds 2009, 2010, so when I was about 8 years old. Okay, so I was only born in 2001. Like Max touched on, we haven't had like in the last 10 years, we haven't had a lot of good goalkeepers. And I was looking, and I was like, we've had Ankrugen, we've had Kasper Schmeichel, but he was only there for a season. We've had Silvestri, we've had some dodgy ones. So I had a couple of Mellier's kind of up there just because that's kind of all I've really known for the last few years. But I've actually gone for someone different. All right. I've gone for the man, the myth, the legend, the free transfer in Rob Green. Okay.
I thought you were going to go for Paddy Kenny.
No. I really liked Rob Green when he was in. I think it was Gary Monk era. We got him on a free transfer and he actually turned out to be quite a decent goalkeeper. Obviously, everyone knows Rob Green for that mistake he made
in the World
England.
Cup,
yeah, everyone knows him for that. But I thought when he came in for Leeds in that like kind of similar green sort of shirt he had in goal, Carl Bartley and Pontus Jansson in front of him, I thought he was all right. I think he kept something like 16 clean sheets, I believe I saw. Don't fact check that. But yeah, no, for me, free transfer, I thought he was decent. What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's almost as well. It's like the kind of the reputation, because even though, yes, he made that mistake for England, he had played for some pretty big clubs and he's played a lot of Premier League football. So when he came in, you were like, oh, we're getting someone with a bit of, I can't think of the word to say it, but just like a bit of a reputation and somebody who has played at a higher level. So it was like, oh, this is a good signing and a good move. And like you say, he was never terrible for Leeds. He always did decent. And yeah, he was one of those players where, like I say, when they've come from the Premier League, you're like, okay, that's a little bit of quality to add to the side, and you like seeing signings like that.
Yeah, and I think it was definitely like one of them signings, like you said, that he's well known. I know what you mean. It's not like experience; it's like it's a well-known signing, and I thought it was decent. Like I said, it was a toss-up between that and Meslier because before that we haven't had a lot of like. I'm not saying Kiko Sear. I'm not saying Silvestri. No. It's kind of hard who I've watched really.
Haley Peacock Farrell.
Oh, don't, mate, don't. I saw like Stuart Taylor and stuff like that. I'm like, come on. So I went for Rob Green, if not Meslier. But yeah, no, I think, fair play to Rob Green. I thought he'd done all right in there. was he just there a year?
I think so. It wasn't long, was it? It wasn't. No. It wasn't a massive amount of time. You mentioned Kasper Ankergren. I remember him as a kid because I remember him was the first sort of goalkeeper I saw where he stands with like his back to the post and then smashes his studs off the post, trying to get all the mud out of his boots. And I always thought, why is he doing that? That's weird. As a kid, he's the first person I saw do that. So that's like, it's little weird memories like that you have of players, rather than what they were actually like when they played. It's almost like, do you know what I mean? It's just little weird memories like that. And I remember Lockie saying that one of his memories was Paul Robinson, and it was just like he was a little kid, and he was remember thinking how far he could kick the ball and going, whoa, like that. It's just little things, because when you're a kid, it's not necessarily how amazing they performed over the time and stuff. It's sort of like your associated memories with them, and when you're first getting into Leeds and stuff like that. So I can understand why. Well, it's the best of a bad bunch, isn't it? Really, with Rob
really.
Green.
And the thing is, like I said before, that with teams I support, like my dad used to hate me because I used to just, whatever team won that week, I'd support. Honestly, I'll go into school just being like, yeah, Fulham won, so I'm kind of just supporting Fulham for the week. And I'd literally tell my friends that. And then it got to a point where my dad was just like, shut up and support Leeds. So
Yeah.
I did, and regretted it ever since.
Yeah, knew you were going to say that. Right, so Rob Green in goal. Who are you going to go for in the right back spot?
Yeah, again, I haven't had a lot of options over the years, but I've actually gone for Luke Ayling. To be fair, I know the last few years, I've got him on the back of this. All right,
Yeah,
the last few years, we're seeing a decline in Luke Ayling. I think from Bielsa ball, from all the training, I think from age. It's understandable, but I don't think that should tarnish actually how good he was for Leeds United.
yeah.
Again, similarly got him in for, I can't even remember how much. It was definitely
It
under
was
a
about,
million.
I think it was about 250 grand.
Yeah, I was gonna say 250 grand, 300k, whatever. Again, a phenomenal signing for us. And the years under Bielsa, best right back in the Championship, bombing up and down. He was fantastic, and he was a crucial part of Leeds United getting back to the Premier League. Even the first season back in the Premier League, I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah,
And then, like I said, the last few years we've just seen a decline. I think that's to do with age, how quick wingers are nowadays, struggling to keep up with them, and we're just getting better players to replace him now, like Jed Spence, like Archie
yeah.
Gray can play right back. It's fair enough, but I don't think we should tarnish what this man's done for the club. He will be a legend, and still is a legend. And Luke Ayling for me over the years has just been a fantastic right back for us.
Yeah, I think a lot of people at the moment are looking at him and saying he's not good enough and he needs to be moved on and stuff. I think the general sentiment towards him at the moment is get him out. But I think if you look back at him in 10 years, you go, wow, he was part of that side. And he's scored a load of goals as well, coming off that right-hand side, overlapping and getting up and down. And maybe that's shortened his career by a little bit, the amount of running
100%.
he had to do. But I don't know if you ever heard the story of how he actually signed for Leeds. It was he was friends with Kyle Bartley.
Oh yeah.
And when Kyle Bartley actually signed, Luke Ayling messaged him saying, "Oh, they don't need a right back, do they?" Bit tongue in cheek. And Kyle Bartley actually mentioned it, and they signed Ayling off the back of that.
Wow.
And it's just and everything that's happened since. And obviously, Kyle Bartley never really went on to the things that he was a good, solid defender, but he never really went onto the heights that what Ayling did and achieved going back to the Premier League and stuff under Bielsa. So, it's just those little moments where you think if that hadn't have happened, just that little sliding doors moment, then you would have never seen the best of what we saw of Ayling. And I think he was a leader as well, which you always go back to that Forest game, don't you, where he just looked completely dejected and he was just like, oh, I feel like this is just not happening. And obviously it did in the end. So, I think certainly in a few years' time, everybody will look back on him with a little bit more fondness than they do right now. Because you're always, I mean, football moves on all the time, doesn't it? And you're always in that moment of, I just want what's best for the club right now. And whilst Ayling's been a fantastic servant, at the moment, he's not really living up to... well, not his price tag because it wasn't very much at all, but he probably is living up to his price tag actually. If it was 250 grand, I'm pretty sure it was between 250 grand and 500 grand, something like that. So, yeah, but a fantastic servant to the club.
It just sums up Ayling, that story about the whole Kyle Bartley thing, doesn't it? Just being a bit cheeky, being, oh, any chance I can get in, and he does, and he's just done so well on and off the pitch, I think, for the club. And also, like you said about, I know people thinking right now, we need to move him on. But same people were saying that about Click, and now Click's gone. People were like, oh, I wouldn't mind seeing him back in the team. And it's kind of like, it's just short memories in football. Ayling and Coops and players like that will be in and around the club, I believe. I think they probably will most likely retire at Leeds, or they might, their last playing career might be, somewhere in League Two or League One or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, Ayling for me, that it was a no-brainer, really, putting him in right back.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Okay. Who have you gone for at right centre back?
Okay, so my centre backs. Okay, there's not really a right and a left-footed one. I've kind of just chucked two I like. So I'll start off with this one, and I know it ended a bit sour, but the main man, Pontus Jansson. I
Okay.
absolutely adored Pontus Jansson when he was at Leeds. I thought he got it. I just thought he was he took no shit at all. I don't know if I can swear, but he took no shit. And he just I just see back the header against Blackburn. Do you remember that one? And there's like
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think we won it like 2-1. And he scored a corner header, and like the 7,000 behind the goal just went mental. And he's running around the pitch, and I just thought he was fantastic. I thought the partnership with Kyle Bartley was fantastic, and I thought Bartley was he could have got into this team, but no, for me Pontus, it was annoying that he left. But you know what, the whole thing with Marcelo Bielsa and give the goal to Villa and stuff like that, it was always
Yeah.
going to cause a bit of chaos. But no, for me, Jansson, I've always liked Jansson. I thought if that whole thing didn't happen, I thought he could have been our future captain. I really did. And but no, he was fantastic at his time in the lead shirt, I thought.
Yeah, he's one of those players where you know that somebody is a crowd favorite if they have their own chant.
Yeah.
And he was, like you say, quintessential Leeds player. Like literally, will fly into every challenge. Will just tough tackling, will try his absolute best in every single moment of the game. And that, when you talk about that Villa game, that competitive streak to him of not wanting to let them score, just thinking, no, don't let them score. And he's the only one doing it. And you think he kind of looks like an idiot doing that, but it just sums him up the way that he was really. And he got his move to Brentford and obviously played a little bit for them as well. And I think, it is a shame the way it ended because he was a very good centre back. But I think at the time, it kind of moved things on nicely to where we ended up. But he certainly played his part in our journey towards promotion and all that came afterwards. And yeah, he was a very, very good player. And like I say, he seemed like he was a real good Leeds type player, if you get what I mean. Like the fans,
like a
loved
cult
him.
hero type of thing, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. A cult hero. Yeah, I love Jansen as well. So I think that's a great pick. What about the other centre back?
So it's not actually a left-footed centre back, and I think it's probably the bloke who came in and replaced him. It was Ben White.
Yeah,
I absolutely adored Ben White. Don't fall in love with lone players, they tell me.
no.
Well, I'm going to, because I did. The man was absolutely magic. I remember my dad, when he first came in, he was just like, when we played Newport, because we played Ben White, and he was like, oh, he's a good little centre back. We'll go for him one day, jokingly, tongue in cheek. And he was here, and my dad was now he would be like, see, I told you that Ben White was good, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Like, it's like he's his agent or something. But for me, Ben White was just the absolute perfect centre back. Rolls Royce in the Championship for me. The fact that we didn't get to sign him, the whole Brighton thing, and now he's doing bits at Arsenal. I don't really like him now at Arsenal, to be fair. I mean, there's still parts of me that want him to do well, but when he's got his bleach blonde hair, he's been in the sunbeds, I'm like, that's not the Ben White we know when he was back at Leeds. But just his relationship with Calvin from the get-go, I loved. And he was a bit of a cheat. He just fit in straight away. It felt like he got the family sort of like banter, and also he was brilliant at football. He could defend, his long-range passing. He scored goals for us, and he scored that lovely goal the last game of the season, the volley from the edge of the box.
Everyone was going, don't do that, don't do that. It means they won't let us have him.
And he was just honestly the perfect centre back. And I think nowadays we compare, Joe Rodon to Ben White. People are saying, oh, he's got Ben White sort of in him, the way he can take it through defenders. But for me, at the moment, no one's replacing how good Ben White was for Leeds United at that time period. And I was just so frustrated that we didn't get to sign him because, again, fell in love with the man. He was absolutely fantastic.
He was an absolute revelation, wasn't he, really? I mean, we signed this player on loan who'd not really played too much first team football, and the first team football he had played had been at Newport County, like you say, and other clubs in the lower divisions, and then coming into a championship squad, and just the way that he took to it like a duck to water and just played that whole season, he was unbelievable. And people who are just Premier League fans and didn't really see what we were like in the Championship, they always talked about how we just were so leaky at the back and we always conceded so many goals. But in that season where we got promoted, we didn't. We stopped so many chances and conceded so few goals because of that partnership between Ben White and Liam Cooper. And yeah, Ben White, like you say, bringing the ball out into midfield. And that was something that he did really well, because that bypassed the press. Then when teams were coming at you, you had a player with a bit of ability to bring the ball out, and he would just drag you up the pitch, and everyone's like, right, we can go now. And that was so useful for somebody like Marcelo Bielsa to have. And like you say, it's just such a shame that we didn't get him on a permanent, because I think if we did, it would have changed a lot of what's happened in the last couple of years. I really believe that, because we signed Robin Koch as his replacement, and in his first game, he handballed it, gave away a penalty, and he just had a stinker basically. And he never really did anything after that. And I think it was a bit of a shame, really. But if we'd have signed Ben White instead, I really do think that we'd have been so much more solid at the back over the last couple of years, and maybe would have conceded nowhere near as many goals, especially because I don't think it's as big of a thing that it would have maybe kept Bielsa in a job, but I think certainly we would have seen a different last couple of years if we'd have signed him rather than the other centre backs we signed, and Diego Llorente as well. So he had a massive impact in the short time he was here. And yeah, for a lone player to make your team, he's done well.
Yeah,
but it was only one season.
I also think I think you touched on it quite well. You know how all just casual Premier League fans will be like, "Oh yeah," and they're now seeing Ben White. You know, when he first came into Arsenal and things like that, and it's like you don't understand how good he was in the
Yeah.
Championship. Like he was absolutely fantastic. And you touched on Liam Cooper there. Obviously, I love Coops. He could have got into this team. I was actually either going to do Pontus and White or Bartley and Cooper. I couldn't decide. Like I said, if I was to do this team in 2 weeks' time, it would be completely different. But I love Ben White and Pontus, so they're me back two.
Yeah, and I tell you what, it's already a good defensive line, isn't it? With Rob Green behind him. Perhaps Rob Green doesn't really have the playing out from the back capabilities that somebody like Meslier would, but he was certainly a good shot stopper. So I think, it works well so far. Who are you going to go for at left back to complete the defence then?
So I'm actually going to go for Sam Byram, and this is for both of his times at Leeds. Do you know what I mean? I absolutely adored him, growing up, and when he left, I think I cried. I think I did cry did he go to West Ham straight away? I believe.
I think he went to Norwich first, didn't he?
Norwich. I thought it was West Ham then Norwich.
Tell you what, let's do a bit of.
We'll be back after the break.
Yeah, do a bit of searching on the job. Yeah. Oh, he must have gone to West Ham first. Yeah, because obviously he was at Norwich until he came to Leeds. Leeds United, yeah, West Ham in 2016 it was. So how old would you have been then?
Oh, too old to be crying over a footballer, I tell you. But it was just, I think it was because I was having an argument with my mate because he was a West Ham fan. And you know, when you like feel tears in your eyes when you're arguing, I was like, well, we don't even need him anymore. We did. But yeah, no, Sam Byram, for what he's done then and for what he's come back and done now, I think he's the perfect, like he gets Leeds. He absolutely gets Leeds. And when we signed him again back in the summer, I was thinking, oh God, like what are we doing? And it's not even because of him, because there's always a decent player in there, but his injury record. And I just thought we've already done that weird transfer thing with bringing in Sam Allardyce, and now we're just bringing in, Sam Byram. Like it's just gone. We went from like,
just bringing in all the Sams.
Yeah, literally. We went from like, signing players under Bielsa, like that no one's really heard of. And then they just become a brilliant player. And now we're getting all these, players you'd sign on FIFA type of thing when you need a deadline day signing. And I thought, yeah, okay, it's free transfer. It's just a free hit. And what he's done for Leeds this season, I say it every stream, every video I do, my player of the season so far. I know how well Ampadu things are done, but
it's like that. It's like that value for money thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you take it relative to how much they cost and how well they've performed. Yes, Ethan Ampadu is one of our more expensive signings, but he's been fantastic this season. Whereas Sam Byram may have not been quite as good as him, but his price was on the floor. So, well, free. So, And I think it's actually a very clever thing to do, to be honest. When you've got a championship budget, and well, not even the budget, it's more the financial fair play constraints and stuff that you've got. If you can get somebody in on a free who'll do a job like Sam Byram's doing for us, then that is a win-win situation, isn't it? Because like you say, he's been fantastic. And I remember him in his first stint as well. And it was one of those things where you had players come through the academy over the years, didn't you? Like a Fabian Delph, a Calvin Phillips, Sam Byram, all these players, and you love them, don't you? Because they came through the academy. Even though me and you aren't from Leeds, it still feels like, oh, they came through the academy, so they're one of ours. And it's a nice feeling. But then when they leave, it's heartbreak. And luckily, with our trajectory, that when we had Phillips, it was like, okay, he can stay in this team because we're getting promoted and stuff like that. And you nearly went to Villa. But Sam Byram, he kind of had to go because he got to that level where he was too good for Leeds, really, and went to the Premier League. Maybe he wasn't quite good enough for West Ham, which is a shame the way it's worked out. But at least it's come full circle and he's back now, and he can teach some of those younger kids coming through what it was like when he came through. And it's come full circle, so it's nice to see.
Yeah, I think it was at the era as well, you know, where we had a good young, it actually was English player, and they were just getting snapped up every time they played well. Sam Byram, Charlie Taylor, Lewis Cook, Alex Mowat, things like that. It was like you don't fall in love with these players because they'll be gone in the summer. And we were kind of just like making a good player be good for a season, then we'll get some money from him. And that's just how it kind of works. I remember just as a kid growing up, I was like, I really like him, but he'll probably be wearing a Premier League shirt next year. Do you know what I mean? So
the thing is,
for me,
it was never much money either, was it, really?
no, exactly. That's what I mean. We weren't getting 30, 40 million. We're probably getting 3 million for him and replacing him for some random Italian from Serie B or something. And just like, oh,
God. The dark years.
Yeah, I just think he's done fantastic. It could be a bit recency bias, but over his 2 stints at Leeds, I think for me, the man deserved a place.
Well, you're not the first person who's picked him. So if people watching this want to see who else picked him, then go back and watch the previous episodes. So moving on to 4-1-4-1, isn't it? So who's the holding midfielder?
The boy, Calvin.
Yeah. You can see. Oh, no, you can't actually. I was going to say you can see in the corner of my thing, I've got his shirt on the wall up there. Love Calvin. I sometimes have to question my sexuality. How much I love that man. Do you know what I mean? I absolutely, and even what he's doing for City now, every time he plays, I smile. I love him. I've met him before when I was out in Vegas. You only must have smiled once or twice then, if you smile every time he plays for City.
Have I told you the story when I met him in Vegas?
No.
I went out to Vegas for just a family thing, and I was just I was doing my laces. No, he was. Oh, I can't remember what
he was doing your laces.
No, he wasn't doing my laces. He couldn't tie them, mate. But no, I was just walking around, right, and I noticed his girlfriend. So I was like, I swear I know that girl. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then I kept on walking, and he walks around the corner of like Costa or Starbucks, and I went, Mum, that's Calvin Phillips. Like, this is the summer where we failed playoffs.
Oh, right.
So
okay.
he was rumored to be leaving. He was like off to whoever was like Villa or something when they got up.
Villa, yeah.
So then I was like, Mama, I need to go see him. Like, how weird is this? I support Leeds. He is a Leeds player. So then I followed him into Starbucks. Waited till he ordered because I'm polite. And then I just said, I'm a massive Leeds fan, Calvin. Can I get a photo of you? And he's like, yeah, of course. And then his girlfriend was like, oh, do you want me to take it for you? She held my phone, got the photos. And then I actually pointed in his face and said, you better not leave. You better not leave Leeds. And he's like, oh, I won't, mate. Don't worry. Like, obviously he's going to say that. He's not going to be like, yeah, I'm pissed off to Villa now. He's just said, yeah, no, of course I won't. And he didn't. And he didn't leave that. He didn't. So I'm saying the reason Calvin stayed that extra season,
it's because nothing to do with Granny Val convincing him. Just
no,
all Ollie Ward.
No, but for me, Calvin, yeah, he's got to fit in. What he done under Marcelo Bielsa, what he went on to be, what he is still now. You know, he's got all these medals. I know he hasn't done much at City. He's kind of ruined his career there. But I'm just, and from what he was as well, he wasn't really getting in. Those players getting in over him, and then Bielsa saw him and went, no, you can play, because he was more of an attacking midfielder, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a number 8/number 10, wasn't he? And he'd scored a few goals in the season before Bielsa came in. And then there's that story, isn't there, where he went around the dressing room and told everybody their numbers, and he said he went give it to Calvin. I think he said number 4, and Calvin was like, what? And he was like, just number 4. And then obviously everything from then, he's just obviously the genius just saw something in him that could
Mm-hmm.
play that role. And yeah, it culminated, I think, with him being England's player of the tournament at Euros, where we got to the final. So incredible.
It was just, he's gone on to do so much, and being a Leeds lad, I do think he'll retire at Leeds. I really do.
I hope
You know,
so.
I hope so as well. Like I don't know. There's just he's, his long range passing. I haven't watched someone do that since like Gerrard. I know that's a bit extreme, but for me, like the fact how much because I used to watch Gerrard growing up, and I was like, oh, he can ping a pass brilliantly, and I want to be like that. And then I see Calvin, and I remember I used to watch Calvin compilations before I'd go play my Saturday morning games. That's how much he meant to me.
The
Because I used to,
hype
I
yourself
used to play
up.
in that role as well, and I just done the dirty work, picking up the ball, tackling, and I was just like, I want to watch him, and yeah, for me, it was my number one pick, and I just love him. I love him.
Yeah, it's my favorite position on the pitch, that, and that's why I love Ethan Ampadu at the moment. It's just that tough tackling and then spraying the ball around the pitch, pinging those balls over the top, and yeah, it's why he's called the Yorkshire Polo, isn't it? It's that what do they call it? What's that American football position? Quarterback role, where he's just patrolling that area across the pitch in front of the defense, and when he gets the ball, he's like, look up, okay, Rafinha's down the wing or Jack Harrison's down the wing, and he just pings a ball right over the top, drops at their feet, and it's just, yeah, it's lovely to see. And like you say, I hope too that he comes back to Leeds one day, and I think he will, because I think he struggled at Man City, and I think if Leeds get up and they start to get towards that trajectory, then there's a potential of signing him back again. But I just don't know whether the club would go for it, given his injury record and stuff like that. I don't know, which breaks my heart a little bit, but I would love to see him back one day in a Leeds shirt.
I don't understand all the hate towards him as well, because you do see some Leeds fans who are like, "Oh, he's just starting on the bench." I think that was at first. Everyone's a bit like, "Oh, he hasn't even had a minute," and now everyone's starting to be a bit like, "I just feel a bit sorry for him now." Like you just,
Yeah,
as a fan of football, as a fan of Leeds, you're a bit like you just want him to, do well. And it does look
because
like he'll be going in January as well, doesn't it?
yeah, he just seems like a lovely bloke as well, to be fair. I mean, he's just always smiling, always happy, and just, yeah, he's just got that cheeky grin on his face, and he
Mm.
just like, it's a little bit Jorginho Rutter's kind of giving off
Yeah, yeah.
similar vibes in terms of just looking like he's always smiling and enjoying playing football. And it's kind of sad to see that Calvin hasn't really been playing, because obviously that's the thing he wants to do. And he's got the trophies and the medals now. He's won a treble, and he can
Yeah, I
say
know.
that. He can always say that now. So come back to Leeds, Calvin.
I was
When we
about
get
to say,
promoted,
yeah.
come back.
He's won the treble. Just come back to Leeds, and I completely agree what you mean with Jorginho Rutter as well. Because again, going back to my dad, he always just said, "Just play with a smile on your face." Do you know?
Yeah,
When I'm playing, play with a smile on your face. And Calvin always used to, and Al Rutter does, and you enjoy your football more. And yeah, I think he needs to end his career at Leeds, or even the last few seasons he needs to have at Leeds. I just think it will be a match made in heaven.
yeah, absolutely. So how do you want to do this then? Because you've got 4 midfielders now. So let's
Yeah.
just go from right to left like we did with the defense. So who's your right midfielder?
Again, bit recent, but I'm going for the boy Rafinha. He
Yeah,
is one of the best ever players I've watched live. I thought when I watched in a lead shirt, that is, I thought, when we signed Rafinha, I was like, okay, I'll be honest, didn't know much about him. And to be fair, I don't know much about our signings before we signed them. I'll leave that to you doing your tactical analysis.
well, I don't, but that's when I go and look. Sort
Yeah,
of just
exactly.
like,
You're
yeah,
an actual YouTuber. I'm a reactionary YouTuber. Goes, you guys got to go watch Max, and I'll react to it. But no, anyway, Rafinha when he signed, uh, I thought, okay, this is a decent little signing. Bit of money we've spent. Let's go. And what he turned into at Leeds was wow. What he done on the football pitch, I was like, okay, wow. He scored goals, he assists, the tricks. Again, like I just fell in love with him because everything
yeah,
was going right with these players under Marcelo Bielsa in that season. Everything was going right. And just the way, that final game of the season as well, when we thought we were maybe going to go down, he gets a crucial goal as well. I know Harrison got the late one, but Rafinha was there. He was a massive part of Leeds United staying up. And I think if we
yeah,
didn't have Rafinha, maybe that season, because Calvin was out a lot for injury, wasn't he, that season? And I thought if we didn't have Rafinha, we probably would have gone down. Obviously, the next season we did anyway. But I just thought he's fantastic. You know what he's doing at Barcelona. He struggled at the start of Barcelona, but now he's doing quite well. I see something. He's got like a 70 million price tag on him now or something.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, get rid of everyone, bring him back. He'd love to play. He'd love to play at Deepdale, I'm sure, if we don't get promoted. But no, Rafinha, I think it was a no-brainer for me. I thought he was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, for our generation, certainly he's one of those players where you can truly say that he was world class, and obviously he's proved that by going on to play for Barcelona. And I said this on one of the other episodes, but he just looks right in a Barcelona kit. He just looks like he was always destined to do that Brazilian flair, and he wasn't just tricky. He had the end product as well. He'd cut in from the right hand side and just whip it in the top corner, and you just thought, in the moments where Pablo was like trailing off and you needed somebody to come and take that mantle, that's what Rafinha did. And it's such a shame that we got relegated in the end, even just for him, because he worked so hard and tried so much to keep us up in the season before that. And then obviously he's gone to Barcelona, he's living his dream, but he probably would have had half an eye on Leeds and gone, oh, they got promoted anyway, relegated anyway. It was all for nothing. So it's a bit of a shame, really. Obviously, it's more of a shame for us because we're the ones who have to live with it. But he certainly was one of the best players I've ever seen for Leeds. Probably the best in terms of at the level, like in the Premier League, doing it as well. So he was unbelievable. And I think as well, it's annoying that more of his free kicks didn't go in, because I think people would be talking about him as one of like the best Premier League free kick takers, because he must have hit the bar 5 or 6 times on free kicks. And if they'd have just been a couple of inches lower and cannoned off the bar and in, you'd have been talking about him having a similar free kick season to, how they talk about Dimitri Payet, the way that he's just coming in and just banging them all in.
Yeah.
Rafinha nearly had that so many times. He just hit the bar all the time. So it was just exciting every time he stepped over a free kick or every time he got the ball and sent Gary Cahill for a hot dog. And it's just like,
that is one of the best videos ever. I do believe I touched on the free kick thing. If he was wearing any other shirt but a Leeds United shirt, they'd be banging, right in the back of the net. But it's just unfortunate that, they didn't go in, because I completely agree with you. What is your favorite Rafinha goal?
I think it was the one where he cuts in off the right hand side. I can't even remember. Do you know what? Yeah, I think it was West Brom. I remember stripy kit. I think it might have been West Brom because we were battering them, weren't we? And he just cuts inside and whips, I think, whacks it in the top corner, and you just go, oh, go on then, I'll have a bit of that.
No, I was exactly the same. That goal, I did like the one against Everton. I think it was his first goal.
It was low into the bottom corner, wasn't it? Yeah.
But he scored so many goals for us, so many important goals as well. But yeah, it was a no-brainer to put Rafinha in for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So who are your central midfielders? We'll go for the right one.
Okay, so I've kind of gone. So all right, I've gone Pablo Hernandez. In the right centre mid. Like I said, these are just I needed to fit players in, so I don't know if this formation would actually work in real life, but
I think it would so far.
Yeah. Okay. Good. But yeah, Pablo. I think modern day Leeds legend, our era. Again, no brainer for me. Best. I personally think he's the best Championship player ever. That's not even me just being like biased. I genuinely do. The goals, the assists, the important goals, the goal that got Leeds United promoted. He's done so much more than that. Just the little nutmegs, the free kicks. Just if you've watched Pablo Hernandez play, you'd understand. You would understand. He's absolutely fantastic. And even in the Premier League, yes, he was falling off a bit, but he still had moments of magic. He was still, I don't know if he was probably capable enough in the end. I think age was hitting him. But when he first came in, he was always I just remember him in the black kit. That's what I remember him in, the black away kit. Because it was days where we would look to be like, come on, anyone do something. We had Ekuban up top and things like that. And I'm going, oh, come on, let's Vernon Anita behind him. And then Pablo picks up the ball and does bits of magic. And we got a point here. We got 3 points there because of that man, because he just single-handedly for a few years carried Leeds United on his back. And then when he got under Bielsa, we saw an even better player. And yeah, he was, the relationship between him and Marcelo Bielsa as well was pure. It was lovely. And yeah, the day he left Leeds United was a sad day, but he at least, left and he didn't kind of tarnish his reputation. I know like how some players get really bad and you're like, so if Ayling left, some people now would be like, oh, thank God he's gone. I don't think Pablo ever got to that stage where we were like, please don't play Pablo. We always thought, okay, he could do something.
It was like Bielsa never really let that happen because he just didn't play him enough to be
Mhm.
annoyed at him doing badly.
Yeah.
But I think you can certainly see Pablo going on to be a coach, or I can.
Mm.
I feel like he would be a really good player to go on to be a coach. The way that he's some of the managers he's played under, and then the way that he played football as well, you can see him being a really good coach. Hopefully, he comes back to Leeds one day in a coaching capacity because yeah, I can certainly see that he's got that in him. And like you say, it was coming up clutch in those moments
Mm.
where you just needed him to. And for maybe some of the newer Leeds United fans who might be watching this, he was just it was a player that you could just bring on, and it's like the definition of a super sub because he was getting a little bit on further on in his career, and he's a little bit older. Bielsa would bring him on in the championship, and he would score a goal or get an assist or get a pre-assist, like knock the ball over the top for someone who then knocks it across and we score. And he just was always involved, and he basically got us promoted almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was absolutely fantastic. Who are you going to go for in the other central midfield position?
Okay, so I've gone. So when I pick a team, I like a man who can play everywhere. Okay, and this man, I had to get him in the team. Is Stuart Dallas. You
I
know,
knew as soon as you said a man who could play everywhere, it was going to be
I had
Stuart
to get
Dallas.
Stuart Dallas. He, was a massive key to get Leeds United promoted. He played left back, right back, centre mid, wherever you want him to play. The man can play, and he had to get in. The goals he scored, in the playoff games, the Man City win. He's had so many important goals for Leeds United, and it's not just his goals; it's his tackles, it's his overall link-up play. I just think he is such an underrated player, and again, for the price tag, and you're looking at it now, it's absolutely. I don't know how much it was. It was definitely under £1 million, I
It wasn't
believe.
much. It was from Brentford, wasn't it, when he was
Yeah,
playing? Because Juve Rosler managed Brentford as well,
yeah,
and then he signed him. And yeah, he was. He's just played in every single position apart
mhm,
from goalkeeper and centre back. Probably
yeah,
he's just so good that he can play anywhere and such a well-rounded player. And one thing that sticks out to me with Dallas is just obviously before this injury where he broke his leg, his ability to just play through anything. And a lot of players around him said, yeah, he was just playing through injuries every
mm,
single week. He'd have to have an injection in his knee or his thigh or whatever, and he would just play on anyway. And he just it epitomizes the type of player he was. And you can never have too many Stuart Dallases because
no,
they just will put everything on the line for you. And he was, and hopefully will come back to still be a really good player and help out.
yeah.
But yeah, he's been an incredible servant to the club, and you got to love him, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. And he's been here for so long as well. I remember we kind of signed him as like a right mid, left mid, and then Bielsa kind of chucked him in the middle and at left back and right back. Like you said, he's played in pretty much every position. But I really do hope he comes back, you know, a good player after this injury. It's really hard when you've been out for so long. I think I genuinely do think we'll see a little bit of him this season. But it's just will he be up to the match pace? You want him to, as a fan, you do
Yeah,
want him to. But listen,
you
he's,
kind
he's
of
been,
you kind of hope that he can fill in at that left back role
yeah,
if Byram's out or whatever, if we need him. And
mm,
do you know what? Stuff like this makes me cringe thinking about it coming back, like having a big injury like that where he's broken his leg. Like I don't know, like it must psychologically affect you because I can
mm,
imagine me if I broke my leg and I was going back in every tackle, I'd be thinking, oh God, I don't want that to happen again. Like it's cringe to think about that your
yeah.
leg might just snap in half
See,
again, and it's like, oh God.
the thing is, I've broke my leg before growing up. It wasn't football. It was just raining outside. My mum told me not to run. I didn't care. I ran and I broke my leg. But no, I think that kind of growing up playing football, I was a bit scared of a tackle at first because I was like, "Oh, don't want my leg to go again." So it definitely could be that 100%. And if the fact he was still playing through injuries, I know it wasn't as big as breaking your leg, obviously, but he was playing through the little niggles and things, and he got through it all and the performances. He kind of is the definition of Bielsa ball, I think. The keep on running,
Yeah.
the just everything you wanted in a player. And I had to get him in the team somehow. And I think he'd do well next to Pablo playing centre mid. I do.
Yeah, I think he will. He gets back and forwards. He's probably suited to being a bit of a number 8 because he can tackle, he can get back, and he can
Hmm.
also get forward. And he can score goals as well, and we've
Hmm.
seen that. So yeah, I think he'd do well in there. Who are you going to go for at your left midfield spot?
See, the thing is, this one I don't believe he's naturally there, okay? But I was looking across, and we haven't had a lot of like, apart from recency bias, we haven't had a lot of amazing wingers. I don't know if that's me being, I don't know, amazing left side wingers anyway. Because I was looking at my time, and obviously we've got Somerville now, which is good. I would put him in, but I think it's a bit too recent.
Yeah.
We've got Harrison, who I like, and things like that. Then I'm looking back, and we've got like Sabicki, and
Oh,
we've got
God.
players like that, and I'm like,
Got
who
Max
am I?
Gradle was all right.
Yeah, but I think he was kind of, for me, in my era, I was kind of just still getting to know Leeds at that point, and
Yeah.
I didn't really know. But I've gone for a bit of a different one. I wanted to get him in because he's one of my favourite players, and I think he can play on the left. Well, his FIFA card can anyway. We're going Kmar Roof
All right. Okay.
because he can play on the left, can't he? Can't he? Please say he can.
Yeah, well, it's fine, isn't it? It's like you want to get him in, then he'll play there.
Yeah.
Um,
But for me, again, came in clutch with some big goals. I thought he really stepped up when I believe Chris Wood came in. I think that was a thing where he was kind of just like, "Oh God, he's come in now. I need to score some goals." It could have been the other way around. Either way,
was it
um,
not when Bamford came in at first?
that's it. Bamford, sorry, because that, yeah,
Yeah, because I think that was
because
the era, wasn't it, where
yeah, exactly,
they
yeah.
were
So
both
there
fighting
was
for
a
that
point
first
where,
team
yeah,
spot.
yeah, yeah, exactly that. But no, I just thought Roof, for me, he was one of my favorite players because again, it was that time where we weren't doing a lot. Who's going to score your goals? I'll be watching Gillette Soccer Saturday, and you just see Kmar Roof goal. We'd be 4-0 down, but we'll
Yeah.
get the one. It'll be Kmar Roof. And he just came in clutch with goals. Even the first, the first leg of the Derby game, he scored the first goal. Lovely ball over from Harrison, I want to say, and then he put that in the bottom corner. I thought he was a key player for Leeds United. I really did, and I think the way it ended was a ball a bit quite just sudden for me when
Yeah.
I saw Roof was leaving. It was a bit like, oh, okay. But either way, I really like Kmar Roof. I wanted to get him into the team. He'd done he had a decent little time at Rangers as well.
Scored that goal
Um,
from the halfway line for them in the
yeah,
Europa League. That was
yeah,
incredible.
exactly that. But for me, it was just I was just struggling to think of any, like you said, Max Gradle. That there was a couple of players, but for me, I wanted to get Roof in the team, and this was how. And yeah, I just really liked him growing up. I don't have a massive like, this is why I love him so much, like I said about Calvin and stuff. But for me, I really liked Roof.
The one that sticks with me is that Villa goal where he scored the winner, where it was like a
Oh
half
yeah,
volley, where it sort of bounced. He was on the right hand side of the box, inside the box, and it
yeah.
bounced, and he just sort of like across the ball like that, like a side.
In the
Like it
yellow
was,
kit, wasn't it?
yeah, it was like laces, and it just like bounced and went in the bottom corner. It was like a really good
Yeah.
finish, and then
We
ran
were
to
2-0 down that game, weren't we?
I think so, yeah.
And then we won 3-2.
Yeah, and that's one of the ones that really sticks with me, that goal,
Yeah.
because it was incredible and the way he ran off and celebrated it,
Mm.
and yeah, I think he was one of my favorite players as well when I was a bit younger, and I remember when I was younger, I posted on Instagram an edit that somebody else had done of him just as a
Mm.
picture, and said I put "Happy birthday, Kemar lad," and he liked it. And
Oh, lovely.
I was
Claim to
like, "Get
fame.
in, get in!" But yeah, it was a bit of a strange one, wasn't it? Because he went to Anderlecht and
Mm.
then went to Rangers, but I don't think we ever really replaced him in that championship era, because obviously you had Eddie Nketiah came in on loan, was kind of his
Mm.
replacement, wasn't he? Because we didn't have a backup striker. And whilst Eddie Nketiah did really well, he got recalled, didn't he, by Arsenal in January, and then brought in John Kevin Augustin, who obviously was disastrous. And so if we'd have just kept hold of Kemar Roof, I think he would have been actually a really good, decent
Yeah.
championship backup striker that we could have had throughout that whole time. I don't, maybe there was personal stuff, but for me, if there wasn't, I would have liked to have kept him over that
Yeah.
period, because it would have, well, tell you, the biggest argument for it is it would have saved us 17 million pounds
Mhm.
plus
Yeah.
wages or whatever on that John Kevin Augustin thing.
Yeah. Well, Augustin was close to being on my team, but he just he just missed it. But no, that's what I mean when I said Roof about it was quite sudden because it just one day he was a Leeds player, the next day he's off, and I thought there definitely must have been something going on behind the scenes or whatever, or that they knew this Augustin was coming in or whatever. Either way, like I said, Roof growing up with me as well, when there wasn't a lot of players doing stuff, he was doing stuff
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah. Okay. So the last position then is the striker. Who have you gone for?
Right, so there was a few who I liked, obviously. Beckford was there and things like that. I haven't gone for them. I've gone
Oh
for a
yeah,
man.
you've only left yourself one position for strikers when
Yeah.
yeah, there's all those to pick from.
I've gone for a man who, again, it seems to be a common theme in my team. When we weren't doing much, they were there. And I've gone for Ross McCormack.
Okay. Yeah.
I loved him growing up. The number 44, he just scored goals. I remember one season, he got something like 30 goals and we finished 15th. And it's like,
Yeah.
how does that even like happen? And if that doesn't show that one man's carrying your club, I don't know what does. Because we genuinely finished. I remember the season, I was like, how is he scoring so many goals? But we're not moving up any places. I remember just looking at it. I had a lot of his shirts with number 44 on the back. Obviously, again, it ended a bit sour between Leeds United and Ross McCormack. But the time he was here, when again nothing was going on in my time growing up,
It was under Warnock, wasn't it? When
yeah,
Ross McCormack was here.
yeah, and he was scoring goals. He was just scoring goals, and that's what you need as a number 9. There was a lot of options to pick from, but it was more my time where I was getting bullied for supporting Leeds United at school, and I was like, well, yeah, Ross McCormack's got 30 goals, and everyone's like, yeah, but you are sitting 15th. But I just had to back him, and
Yeah.
I thought it was a decent little player.
Yeah, I loved Ross McCormack as well growing up. And it was, I mean, me and Joe talked about this on our episode where like you wouldn't necessarily actually have got to go to games and stuff, especially because I don't live anywhere near and didn't live anywhere near Leeds. And so it was quite an expensive day out to go to Elland Road and watch a game. So we never really got to, and we didn't have Sky or anything. So it's actually hard to watch your club. When you're a little kid in today's era, you live off, and if you don't have those things, you kind of live off FIFA. You live off watching them in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, or whatever it would have been back then, the League Cup. And we never did very well in this competition. So you only got to see a little bit of those players. And Ross McCormack was just one of those ones where I just kind of was naturally drawn to him, and I really liked him just from the little bits that I got to see of him. But
the thing is, he was quite like a little stocky player, but he was quite quick. And he always just knew where the back of the net was as well, which was good. And like I said, there was a lot of options. There's Becchios, there's Beckfords. I really did like Antonucci as well when he was at Leeds. I absolutely love Antonucci. You go Chris Wood and things like that. But for me, Ross McCormack, for a time growing up where I was kind of first getting into Leeds properly, I actually knew what I was talking about and things like that. He was the only man that was doing anything. So Ross McCormack's going to lead the 4-1-4-1 up top.
Yes. Yeah. Brilliant. Right. This is something I like to spring on the guests without asking them to prep. Who would captain your side?
Oh, who would captain my side? So we've got Rob Green, Aylin, Jansen, White. I'm going to go Pablo. Go Pablo. Yeah, it was between Pablo and Pontus for me, because I would love to see Pontus be a captain for this side. Obviously, Aylin's in there and things, but no, got to give it to Pablo. Just probably the oldest player on the pitch, knows what he's doing. Like we said, one day he's going to be a coach, set piece specialist coach, I reckon. And he's going to captain my side.
Does that speak to your ideas of what you like in a captain overall, or is that just something that you've chosen for this team? Because he is the sort of person who, if you put him as a captain, he leads by example. He leads by being professional. He leads by being excellent as a footballer on the pitch. Whereas you get somebody like, say, if you were to have Pontus as the captain, he'd be like the opposite of that, wouldn't he? He'd still be good and professional, but it would be more like he'd shout and he'd control and he'd organize. But Pablo's probably not that sort of thing. Is that what you like to see in a captain, somebody who leads by example, or is that just because you love Pablo?
I think I think it is because I love Pablo. I would normally go for someone like Pontus, and again, I was captain of my teams, and I wasn't the best player at all, but I shouted every game, got into tackles, and I just was talking I could see the whole pitch from being the centre half or CDM and stuff. I could see things, and I like I don't know where my throat's going. I like a captain who can shout and stuff, but also I do like a player that the rest of the team looks up to. Like if you see someone like Harry Kane and things like that, he shouts a bit more now, but the thing is, he just leads by example by scoring goals, playing, and because sometimes you can get away with it. And I know I did. The reason I was starting each week when I was playing is because I was the captain. It definitely wasn't because I was the best player at all. So sometimes it could be a bit of a scapegoat because someone like Liam Cooper, you could say, could come straight back in and be captain when necessarily you might not deserve to. So, but for my team, I think it's Pablo. I want him to lead by example with his feet. And I'll tell you what, this team will take on anyone's team. I tell you, Joe, Lockie, whoever wants it, this team's beating you.
I'm not magic, so I can't set it up, but
Oh.
you can fight with them in the background if you want. Who? So for this series, we say that you're the manager, and you basically say how you'd like them to play. And I'm guessing you kind of alluded to it earlier. You kind of wanted them to play a little bit of a Bielsa ball way, because most of your players, to be fair, have played under Marcelo Bielsa, haven't they? And the ones that haven't can learn with the other ones. And I think your midfield works because Pablo is obviously the creative one and can't do as much running, but then that means Stuart Dallas does his running for him. He comes back, helps out Calvin in the midfield, comes and gets the ball off him. I think it would work really well. I do think it would work well. Not sure about Ross McCormack's pressing ability,
No.
but he's a finisher, and kind of that's sometimes all you need from a striker. So yeah, I think it would really well. Who's your favourite manager as well? Some people in the comments asked me to ask this question. Who's your favourite manager over your sort of time watching Leeds? I mean, I can probably guess, but
yeah, it is Marcelo Bielsa. But I'll chuck a few. You know, the one I actually really liked that I thought started this whole, you know, Leeds could be back here was Gary Monk for me.
yeah,
I really liked Gary Monk. I thought he kind of got Leeds. I know again, it seems to be a common theme. Ended a bit sour,
yeah,
and what he done. But I thought it kind of started for me as a Leeds fan to believe again, to be like, okay, there's something going on here. And obviously we just missed out on the playoffs, and it was kind of like, okay, there's definitely something we could do here with this team, and people starting to be like, okay, Leeds United are a hard team to beat this season. But for me, of course, it's Marcelo Bielsa. What he's done for the club now, the club then, he's an absolute legend. Like he's just, I can't. There's not enough words to describe what he's done for the club.
no.
But yeah, for me, over my time, it's got to be Marcelo Bielsa.
Yeah, I mean, with just going back to Gary Monk, there's no way that we get Pablo without Gary Monk, because he used to be
Exactly.
on the same team as him and stuff, and
Yeah.
so we've got him to thank for that. I mean, I think you're right. Was that he started sort of us off on that path,
Yeah.
and when we go back to Bielsa, I think other clubs are like, oh, why do you love that manager so much? But it's not like he came in when we were mid-table Premier League and took us to the Europa League or something, is it? He took us from 15th in the Championship to 9th in the Premier League within a couple of years, and it's not even just that; it's the way it was done, the football that we played, and it hurt every week on Sky or Match of the Day or whatever it was. It hurt when they said that we were naive. It hurt that they said when they said that we were playing just crazy football or whatever. But it's like, come on. When you watch it,
people
it's
just
so
didn't get it.
entertaining to watch. Yeah,
They didn't get it, and it's just like you don't watch it each week, you don't understand. It's one of them that with Marcelo Bielsa that in the future I can't wait to tell my kids about. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how much he means to a lot of Leeds fans. To live through that Bielsa era was fantastic, and I don't think, I mean, I hope, but I don't think in the next 10 years we'll have a manager anywhere near as what he done for the club. I think Farke right now, I absolutely love Daniel Farke, and I think this is the closest we've came to someone like Marcelo Bielsa. Obviously,
Well, I think
Marsh,
Norwich
Gracia and
fans have
stuff,
a similar sort of love for him, don't they? So
yeah, exactly. And this is not like a Farke versus Bielsa debate that people always seem to still chuck up. But we've just got to, enjoy our history with Marcelo Bielsa, and let's focus on the present with Daniel Farke. And I think we'll be in capable hands with that German man. I do.
Yes, that German man, unbelievable hard. Yeah, well, that tops it off nicely. That's a fantastic team, Ollie. Thank you for coming on. And like I said at the start, make sure you go and check out Ollie's channel. That will be linked in the title and the description, so you can't miss it. So go and click it, go and hit that subscribe button. Anything coming up for you, Ollie? Obviously, it's more games and stuff back next week, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. It'll just be doing more content and stuff. I'm going to try and hit 12K before the end of the year. I'm only like 150 subscribers off, but we'll see. I mean, we've got a tricky December, so a lot of content coming out then. So but thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed it. And like I said, if you got me on in 2 weeks' time, that team will probably be completely different. Yeah,
we'll get you on with a wig, a fake mustache and glasses in a couple of weeks. Wally Ord, and you'll come up with a different team. Right, that's a nice note to end it on. Thanks very much for watching Leeds Lately, and I'll see you in the next one.